Do 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 do. 547. Do 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 do. What is going on, Cowboys Nation? You're now tuned to the Stargating Live podcast with your guy, Nix. Man, there's a lot of fodder about Dak yesterday. There's some more things happening today as well. What's going on, Greg Sizemore? Thank you for tuning in. Mo hitting it on the head. Dak wants to be the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I mean, we're going to kind of discuss some of those things. You know what I'm talking about? Moving the chains, always working right now. That's what's up. Thank you for tuning in as well. So, yeah, I guess everybody else is working. So your guy Nick's had to jump on for a minute. But the Stargate podcast will be on tomorrow, as always, 8 p.m. Central with me, Spoonie, and Mary Ella. Chris in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you. What's going on, Cheech, as well? What's going on, brother? So let's kind of get into it a little bit, right? So, Jane Slater jumped on the Dan Patrick show yesterday morning. And, she had some things to say, right? The first thing is Prescott's looking to be paid right behind Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, when we talk about Patrick Mahomes, right, the 10-year deal, the big money. Now his deal's going to end up averaging per year $45 million, and it's kind of set up to whenever the money kicks in from the new TV deals. All right, so who's number two? You say? All right, well, number two is Deshaun Watson, who's right at $39 million a year. All right, so 39, 45, he wants to be behind him. As I've said before on this show, once the deal was gone out the door last year, right, the tag was around 31, almost 32 million. They offered him 35 million. So I always felt like it was going to be 40 to 42 million to get the deal done. Okay, how do you want to take those words from Jane? Does that mean instead of 40 to 42, it's 42 to 44 now? It just depends on what you consider right behind Patrick Mahomes, right? So some of that, and then of course, and I think this is kind of key as well. She added, goes, the Cowboys feel like it's been a respectable offer, and noting that Dak's side. Whenever she says noting that Dak's side, that's coming from the Cowboys. This is not that Todd Francis came on record with her or Dak Prescott has said this, but whoever she spoke to is her source with the Cowboys said, noting that Dak's side, read by agent Todd France, feels Dallas's cap issues, right, with money aren't our problems. It's about respect. Okay. I heard Mike Fisher talk a little bit about the respect aspect and what does that mean and how does that happen and all that stuff. I think to me, when it's been in these contracts and what we've heard, particularly last year when we talked about Dak and his contract it was more about the guaranteed than the per year. And I think whenever they speak about respect, I think it's about, the average per year looks good, but that fully guaranteed money isn't what we're looking for. When they do these contracts, they're looking for certain things. They're looking to, be the number one in average per year. They're looking for the number one in total money, different things of that ilk. And I think at the end of the day, when they speak about respect in that lane, I think the respect aspect comes from they haven't given enough in guaranteed money. Average per year, I don't think was the issue. I think it was guaranteed money. So there's a little bit of that happening. Now, when it comes to the cap isn't our problems, let's go back and remember, Marcus Lawrence said the same thing. D-Law was like, it's not my issue. That's the general manager. That's whoever. That's Stephen Jones, if you will. That's who worries about the cap. As them as being the independent contractor, that's not, they're not building a team. They're out to do their job, get paid for doing their job. So a little, pivoting there. Is it, the back to the usual, the Cowboys pseudo negotiating through the media. It just kind of depends on what you think and how you look at what Jana, who she's talking to, and what's going on. One thing we do know, and I think is pretty clear, if you're looking at what it's going to be cap-wise this year on the franchise tag, it's 37.1-ish, right? Okay. Well, what's next year's cap franchise tag? It's going to be about $50 million. So again, that's why I always went back to, I felt like it was going to be between 40 and 42 million. I knew he had to get more than Watson. I wasn't looking at the terms of being the second highest guy in the league, because you also have Josh Allen that's coming up. You also have Lamar Jackson that's coming up. Both of those teams have already talked about getting a deal done with those guys, which is why it's impertinent on the Cowboys to get this deal done sooner rather than later. No different than last year, right? Because Russell Wilson got his money, right? Deshaun Watson got his money. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, right? And we see how all that stuff's happened. So here we are. And now all of a sudden, it kind of seems like Cowboys Nation has a lot of it sticker shock. Like, 42 million. Oh, my God. And in my head, I'm just kind of like, well, where do we think this was headed, guys? I mean, he got, he's going to get 37. That's the floor. 37 was the floor at that point. And if you don't want to do anything, and Dak has all the leverage because it went from, a particular guy on 105.3, the fan saying that, Dak barely has an ankle, to we've seen nothing but pictures of him in sand, being with kids in camps, standing on 2 feet, regular shoes. Now the news is also out there. He's on pace to be 100% even before OTAs, so it's those things have kind of been debunked as well as far as his health, because a lot of people say, well, you can't pay him because you got to wait and see. But everything, and guess whose doctors are looking at him? The Dallas Cowboys doctors. They're in-house. It's not like he went outside of the situation and got, physical help or physical therapy. He's doing it in-house, which goes back to James Slater, who came back in today, says, encouraging Dak Prescott news. I'm told he's been at the facility nearly every day rehabbing. So most not being that, so it must not be that contentious, folks. Secondly, Stephen Jones and Todd France have been talking, and they are good talks, in quotations. Still nothing meaningful here, but better than they've been. And this goes back to what I said 2 shows ago, right? This is what I said 2 shows ago. I said at the end of the day, this deal's going to get done sooner than later, because common sense. But what do you mean, Nick? Common sense. Because if you look at how Stephen Jones has done, he's always caved first and foremost. Now, he'll play his last card, but Zeke caved. D-Law caved. And as that situation is, they've swung and missed, and tried to get him 2 years ago and then last year, and now here we are. But it's over. I mean, you're literally to the point now, either you're going to pay him or you're going to have to let him walk, because you're not going to tag him back-to-back years. That's one. 2, the Cowboys don't want him on the tag now with the cap. Yes, can they, as we've showed and we've talked about, they can get to 80 million if they want to. We know Steven don't want to do that. Steven doesn't want to kick that many cans down the road, but sure, they can swipe the pen about 3-4 times and be close to 80 million in salary cap. But the key thing here is March 17th, you have to be under the cap at that point. Well, Cowboys are at 25 million. All right. If you put Dak on a tag, that's 37.1 million. You got to clear up 12 million ASAP. They probably don't want to do that. And 2, they don't want to wait and see. If he's asking for that money now, who knows what the Bills are going to end up giving Josh Allen, or what the Ravens give Lamar Jackson. So at that point, you're playing Russian roulette again if one of those guys happen to jump out there and get a bigger deal, because you'll hear second highest paid player in NFL history if that gets $42 million a year. That'll last a season or 2, and then the next guys will come, and then they'll get paid, and then they'll be the highest paid guys. That's just the way that this thing works in the NFL when the next stuff gets paid. Now, but we do have some clarity on is, well, we kind of have an idea where the range is: 39 million, 45 million. And within that 6 million, you have space where you can actually operate and work. The years are going to matter, right? I don't think he'll get a $42 million deal on a 3-year deal. I think if the Cowboys are going to go to the 42, 43 million, then that's going to probably have to give on the years a little bit. and that's part of the negotiation and what needs to be done. And if we're to believe that both sides definitely want to be here, okay, then they'll get it done. 4 or 5 years, $42 million per year, maybe with a wink, wink. Hey, if certain things happen the first 2 or 3 years, we'll come back to the table, boom, and do something else. But they have to get, and the biggest thing about this is, and I think what Cowboys Nation needs to understand, getting a long-term deal done means the first year or two, you can have Dak on a pretty reasonable cap number, which allows you to go do some things if Steven wants to get busy in free agency. Now, we know that's a whole different set of worms, a whole different conversation, if you will, how they approach free agency. So, but again, I think we're hearing more now, probably more than we heard last year, right? We're hearing more now, which means they are both, the fire is under the pants to get it done. And again, especially with Stephen Jones, his time is up. He's played his cards. Common sense, and by common sense, I mean common business sense. When we talk about Stephen, he has to come back to the table now. He's going to have to fold and get it done, or risk losing Dak Prescott. And I don't think either side wants to do that. Let me jump into some of these comments real quick. Let's see who we got in here. My boy Bluff City's in the building. Looking forward to your show tonight, brother. A little daytime, man. It's just been so much yesterday and today with Dak. I just feel like, man, it was time to kind of come in and talk about that. Chris Westry saying average contract guaranteed by 70%. Dak's last year offer was 60. Yeah, and again, right back to what we call the quote unquote the respect aspect to it. Yeah, and the one thing I always talked about when they were talking about these deals that were leaked out last year was, oh well, I mean, we offered him X years, we offered him, so much per, and that's like, oh, here's the total contract, but they never really talked about what the guaranteed was a whole lot. And I think that's where France and Dak's side is going to be coming from is, on the respect factor is what the actual guaranteed is. I mean, come on, we were talking about the numbers with Goff and Wentz last year, and there's a lot of talk that maybe the guarantee wasn't as much as those guys. I mean, it's negotiations in Dallas, man. It's negotiations in Dallas, Cheech. Buddha with I think I think it's going to get done before the 9th. I really do. That's where I'm at. I definitely believe it's going to be done before July 15th, but I really have a good feeling it's going to be done before the 9th as well. Yeah, get it done. Absolutely, Brandon. Yes, definitely needs to get done. Buddha with the hey, free agent Elvis is still alive. And again, that's another topic of discussion for another day. But again, one of the things I did like was, and what we kind of saw, and not via directly from Dak, just it came out, the Mike Basic and what he said and everything, and all of a sudden on Dak's girlfriend's Instagram, boy, there's just pictures everywhere. Dak on the beach, in the sand, Dak in the pool, and of course, again, the after interesting note to point here as well. Jane went on Dan Patrick's show yesterday with the respect thing and the second highest paid and all that, just to turn back around less than 24 hours later, or right at 24 hours later, saying, well, Dak's been in the building this whole time. He's been rehabbing here. On top of that, Todd Francis and Stephen Jones have had talks, and this thing is moving, would seem in the right direction, not as contentious as it may seem. But the contentions, everything that was contentious was from what she had said yesterday, right? You kind of create the fire, now you kind of put the fire out a little bit. So it's just one of those, things that kind of happens and gets caught up in the motions here. And then Cowboys Nation, again, back to the sticker shock. Don't worry. Trust me, whenever this money hits and they position it right, it's not going to hurt the Cowboys. It's not going to prevent them from going and signing whoever they want to. Now, if you ride the tag, that will hurt. That's concrete $37 million. That'll hurt. And let's be clear, last year, $35 million is the most money that the Dallas Cowboys have ever paid a player for one season. You really want to come back around and do it, or the 31 on the tag. You want to come back around and do that again for 37? That's how you get cap hamstrung on stuff of those kind of numbers that are hard concrete numbers that you can't do anything with. And again, back to the business side of things, Steven knows that. Todd France knows that. We know that now, right? So the deal has to get done because they don't want to carry that 37 hard. The idea, and look, everyone's, there's a contingency of Cowboys Nation says, put the non-exclusive tag on him, let him go out there, find a deal, get you a couple of firsts and everything. It's not going to happen. Again, common sense. Your guy Nix is going to be here today to preach you common sense. No matter what you might think, and I've seen wild takes. I've seen people say that Dak Prescott's not a top 10 quarterback. He's maybe around 15. It's just not what's believed in the NFL. Doesn't matter what I believe. I believe he's a top 5 quarterback personally. Doesn't matter what I believe. Around the NFL in general, he's believed to be a top 7 to top 5 quarterback. Talking heads, different things of that ilk that are not in the NFL might think differently and are paid to say differently and paid to go get, clicks and stuff. But in the NFL, you just don't see top 10 quarterbacks get traded. Just doesn't really happen, especially when you get to top 5 quarterbacks. So again, this crapshoot of an idea that we're going to maybe put a non-exclusive, let him go out here, let's say the Colts offer a deal up, get 2 firsts and come back around. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just not going to happen. Again, it's just the common sense of business. And we wouldn't be this far into it with these certain things that are being said if that was the case. What you would hear is the Cowboys are fielding calls on Dak Prescott. That's what you would hear. We even heard that the front office laughable whenever the media couldn't get the push that went with Russell Wilson. Then they flipped to put the Cowboys in there as well. Then we saw it blow up. Even TMZ was talking about it. But it's common sense. Just follow the brand. It's the brand, right? They're pushing that. And contractually, you can't do that because who says they want Dak Prescott? Well, let's say they would take a Dak for us. Well, they can't do it because of their salary cap and things that are happening on that well. And then, of course, why would you go get a 31, 32-year-old guy who's basically, in their stats that prove this and everything else, who's basically just an older, quite not as good Dak Prescott right now at this stage of his career. So, again, I just common sense is what's going to rule the day here shortly when I believe that Dak Prescott will get the deal done in the Cowboys because it makes business sense. And the idea to dispel the idea that we're going to move a top 5 quarterback with no real answer, because a lot of people want to say, we'll just get rid of him. Well, what's your answer? What are you going to replace him with? Mike McCarthy didn't sign on here to just say, okay, well, we're just going to wing it. You don't have the number 1 overall pick where you can go get a guy. Do you think that Kellen Moore, who basically was the Boise State head coach, came back on a 3-year deal because Dak Prescott was going to be out the door? Of course not. It's fun to talk theories. It's fun to talk about, the could-be's, and that's part of the fun, right? It's part of the fun of being a fan and what this and that and what could happen. But sometimes we just need a dose of reality and a dose of just, hey, business common sense and what's really going on and how to really look at this situation and what's going to happen and follow the breadcrumbs. And that'll kind of get you to a point, and maybe it'll calm you down a little bit. And don't worry about that sticker shock of that $42 million per year. It won't be $42 million this year once he signs. About year 3, if you get a 5-year deal, around year 3, you'll start seeing that 42 and up. By then, the money kicks in. Somebody else is going to be paid way more, and it won't matter. Let me jump in here a little bit more. Yeah, what's going on, Morris? My guy Morris is in the building. Yeah, man, just a little touch, old Dak and stuff. Just want to get some common sense out here to the people. Just old black and mild there, Greg. Just old black and mild. Draft time, checking in what's going on. Draft time says, I don't know what to think. No more. This news is confusing my mind. Rebuild or sign Dak. And again, and this is what I'm talking about. They're not trying to rebuild. Follow your defensive coordinator, for instance. They didn't go get a young guy because we're trying to rebuild and do this thing. They went and got a proven guy, right? As a defensive coordinator, went to the Super Bowl. As a head coach, went to a Super Bowl. They went and got a proven guy to come in here and fix this defense, not next year or the year after, but now, because it's about now. McCarthy has 3 more years on his contract. So does the offensive coordinator. They are not signed up to go out here and coach a Trey Lance. They're just not. I mean, if you move on from Dak Prescott, let's be realistic here. If you move on from Dak Prescott, a realistic expectation for your starting quarterback next year is what? Mitchell Trubisky? They didn't sign up for that. This is not what this train is. They saw what the offense was last year underneath that, and that's just where it's going to be. again, I just think it's a good time to talk common sense as it pertains to this Dak Prescott Dallas Cowboys situation, from the numbers to when he's going to get signed to how this thing's going to fill out. Let me jump in here a little bit more. I don't know why it was so hard to sign him at the Seattle playoff game. Well, again, as we talked a little bit earlier, or as I talked a little bit earlier, guaranteed money, I think has been the pertinent point. Is they haven't the per year's been fine, but the total guaranteed has been the stickler. Is what I think. Jeremy Martin checking in. Appreciate you, brother. Let me go down here. Hey, what's going on, Wilson? In the building. How you doing, man? Oh, yeah, Lucy, we did go 6 hours the other night. Yeah, some of us short, but we had some business hit from Jane that we kind of need to touch on and get there. Yeah, no, for sure. Look, I love Russell Wilson's game. But I think if we're projecting forward, I'm not talking about as they say that, but if we're projecting forward, your money's going to be with Dak than it is Russell Wilson. Love Russell Wilson, love his game. I don't think he's quite the leader that Dak Prescott is, and we've seen some different mixed things that have happened up there whenever he was there, the Legion of Boom, different stuff and whatnot. I do think another thing too, if you watch the tape of Russell Wilson, yes, he has been hit. Also, though, there's a lot of times where he holds onto the ball too long and causes those hits. I like Russell Wilson's game. Again, if you want to give me my top five right now, I would go Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and then it's a toss up from there. If you want to say you like Deshaun Watson more than Dak, that's fine, fair enough. I'm not gonna pound the table on that, but I'm not moving Dak past number 5. And with his trajectory and how he's jumped forward the past 2 years, I believe that's going to continue. Right? Not going to happen, Ed. Sorry, not going to happen. The money don't line up. It's not going to happen. Please and thank you. But just not going to happen, my guy. And that's what we're talking about. So and again, this is when we get into the 19 million sounds better than 33 mil too much at 33 for Dak. The jersey you should buy is number 1. It says cap space across the back. I actually have a post in the Stargame group about that. 33 million is not going to get Dak anyways. So your numbers are way off. It's going to be 40 to 42, maybe 43, 44, depending on length. Because the one thing the Cowboys can say is if you want to be paid, and here's the caveat that I'll be interested in. If you want to be paid right underneath Patrick Mahomes, well, here's what you got to do. You got to give me the years that Patrick Mahomes gave me. Now that could be the backside to this negotiation and where they're going to get as like, okay, we're going to come give you that money. But if you want to be paid right underneath Patrick Mahomes, give me some more than years. And I think this is the bend and break of this thing, right? They're going to have to give the money. They just are. And we think that's really going to happen. I'm telling you guys. But with that being said, I think that's where the years are going to come into play. And last year they didn't want to do the 5-year deal. It was down to like 4, maybe 3. They were kind of him and Han around that. I think if the Cowboys give the money, I think Dak's side will give the years, and we'll get a 5-year deal. That's kind of where I'm at with it. What's your time, Graham? Do you think? Okay. What's your time? Do you think that Dak will get signed a long-term deal, BJ? It's possibly again, as I just talked about that, man. I think it's going to be 4 or 5. I like the 5, especially if they're going to go up to 42, 43, depending on the guarantee, right? But I think for sure, when this thing started out, I believe it was going to be somewhere between 40 to 42 million. He said right under, the word is right underneath Patrick, so maybe it's 42 to 44. But again, it's a 6 million is where we're at, right? Right now, unless Allen or Lamar gets a deal. But you got Deshaun Watson at 39. You have 45 million for Patrick Mahomes. So you have $6 million or $6 million gap there that they can negotiate this deal. It'll slide him in at number 2. It'll just turn into the length of contract and, of course, the total guaranteed. I think it's going to get done before March 9th. That's where I'm at. Again, I'm just going to follow common sense, common business sense. Steven shot his shots for the past 2 years. You're out of time. And you're up against the quote-unquote cap, if you will, with a $37.1 million hard cap charge. So that's just one of those things. I'm scrolling through here. Yeah, I mean, and good, and again, and this is what I talked about, Ed, before you got on here. Is I mean, everybody outside the building and outside the NFL can say what he is and what he isn't worth. You're worth whatever everybody is willing to pay you. Yeah, everyone forgets that the Colts were willing to pay Dak Prescott $40 million last year. It was on record. And by the way, they did pay $46 million for just two quarterbacks. That was hard cap money. And Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett. So it's fine. I said inside the 32 NFL teams, they believe in Dak, and he will get paid. And that's why common sense says he's not going to walk out that door. I mean, what is the old saying? Facts don't care about your feelings. And that's just kind of the fact as it pertains to the NFL is Dak is considered to be that top tier quarterback in the league. So another reason why the Cowboys aren't going to let him go. And it's not Jerry that's losing, it's Steven. Steven's the guy that runs the point on all these things now. And that's what it's going to be. Hey, Sunday would be nice. I like Sunday, you know. But you know, and there it is, draft time as well. Co-signing what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Again, Russell takes a lot more sacks than he has to. I understand the offense line and certain things. Maybe he's not getting the say that he wants. But if you go watch the tape, because I watched a lot of tape on Russell. I was a big guy. I was a big proponent of him coming out in the draft. I actually thought he should have been gone in the first round. I actually thought the Miami Dolphins should have took him instead of Ryan Tannehill. Neither here nor there, water underneath the bridge. But he does take more sacks than he has to. You know, and you don't win a Super Bowl without a franchise quarterback, Jeremy. Very facts. You know, and then of course the other thing that people want to talk about when it's about paying back this money, right? Is I keep hearing this one. Oh, if you pay a quarterback, you just can't win a Super Bowl. Well, my goodness. So what is it that every team should just draft a quarterback, and after their 4 or 5 years, all right, if you didn't win a Super Bowl, get rid of them. Go back, draft you another one. That's what you should do. Like, again, this is a very much common sense type of show here from your guy Nix. Like, common sense tells you, no, you don't do that. Lamar Jackson, you're not going to pay Lamar Jackson because it's up. He hasn't won in the Super Bowl. Come on. Are you not going to pay Josh Allen? I mean, you know, it's you know, stuff like that is like, come on. Common sense tells you that those guys are going to get paid, and they should get paid, right? And it's up to the GM to put the team around and do what they have to do. And a lot of this is going to go away when this. I'm telling you that with the salary cap in 3-4 years is going to explode. It's going to be wild. Y'all think like some of these contracts that people are getting right now is insane? Wait for it. Also, back to as I was thinking about it, as Ed was talking about $19 million. I mean, your wide receiver and defensive end are making more than $19 million this year. So, I mean, I don't know. Good times there. Common sense, guys. Common sense. Friday. Rule of the weekend. Come back on Monday. You know, and moving the chains. You know, even though we bought the generational idea of Zeke, but I mean, running backs and linebackers, by quarterbacks and safeties. It's, you know, the league that we're in. You know, but the trend as we have going right now, though, is, you know, people talk, oh, you just can't do it. But you know where they hear that from? Man, it's just over and over again, you know, and I hear, you know, here's the one I love the most. Oh, I mean, look what Tom Brady did down in Tampa. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. That's cool. That's cool. But if you pull up the top 25, guys, I'm going to pull up the top 25. Most money earned in the NFL all time. Number 1, Drew Brees, $269 million. You know what number 2 is? Tom Brady, $263 million. So when you start telling me, well, these should take discounts like Brady and stuff, and then I go look and see Brady's the second highest paid football player of all time. I'm like, did he really take a lot of? I mean, how much money did he really leave on the table, right? You know, it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, again, you can get this thing done and it'll be fine. And like, people just need to calm down. Dexter has to let go of the short-term demand if he wants. Again, and that's what I was talking about too, Dominic, just a minute ago. I don't know if you got to hear me on that. You know, the interesting side to me of this is I always thought it was going to be 40 to 42, right? But if we're in that realm and we're talking 42 to maybe to 44 even, they're going to give on some of those years. It can't be the 3-year deal. Like, there's no way. Like, I'll say this now. If it's a 3-year deal, it won't be $42 million. It just can't. It just won't get done. But now, see, when I hear that money, to me, I automatically go to 5 years. I think it's going to be a 5-year deal. That's where I'm at. And then you're going to see that 42 and up kind of hit year 3. You're going to get 2 nice little years of that under the $40 million, and then the rest of the way. And of course, at that point in time, depending on what happens, the Cowboys can come back to the table, renegotiate, do some things, extend, whatever they want to do. Just get him in the contract cycle for 5 years and then start moving around and doing what you have to do. But I'm with you there, Dominic. I do believe I'm with you when I think about the money. I think the years are going to go, and that's what I said as well. That's the bargaining chip. If you come in and say you want to be paid right behind Patrick Mahomes, that opens up the door for Stephen Jones in the front office to say, okay, well, we want you on the same type of years that Patrick Mahomes gave Kansas City, right? That's how bargaining works. That's how these deals get done. But yeah, man, I don't want to hold y'all too long, man. It's midday. We've been rocking here for about 30 minutes. I just want to talk to y'all about, again, common sense. Like, this isn't Madden, right? It's not Madden. And common sense tells you if they want a deal done, they're going to have to do it, I think, earlier than later, just because of that $37 million franchise tag. They would talk about March 17th and have to be underneath the cap by then. You just paid him $31 million, the highest you've ever paid a single player for 1 year. Obviously, we're seeing physically he's fine. That's out there. Jake Slater today, even, hey, he's in the building rehabbing. We've heard, hey, 100% before training camp or before OTAs, the whole nine. So the ankle's fine. It's been their doctors on him. And then you get into the Russell Wilson fodder and all this other crazy stuff and trading and doing this. It's not going to happen. It's fantasy land. You ever watched Draft Day? It's draft day stuff. It's those kind of things. Again, you just don't see teams that typically have what's revered to be a top 7 quarterback in the league get up out of there. It just don't happen. It just doesn't. And again, I think at a certain point, we just have to take a breath, come back to reality for a second, and realize and look at this as an organization and as a business and where it's headed. And that's my biggest thing, my biggest take. And over the past couple of days, man, I just saw everybody going left, and then the sticker shock, and all these different things happening, and we could just go get Russell Wilson. And it's like, yeah, okay. And what if Dak doesn't want to go there? Like, people I think forget, like, you can't just trade Dak. Dak has to decide where he wants to go. So he's a free agent. You can't just tag him and then go trade him. So let's say he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go to Seattle, right? Let's just walk down the Russell Wilson path since so many people want to talk about it. We saw what it took to get Matthew Stafford. So what do you think is going to take the Cowboys to go get Russell Wilson? And you want to fix this defense, right? Because I've been told, Knicks, you can't draft Pitts at 10. We got to fix this defense. What do you think you got to give up to go get Russell Wilson? What's that package going to look like? It's going to be more than they gave up for Stafford. 2 firsts, 2 seconds. I mean, it's just it's funny. It's like realistically, it's laughable. It's very laughable whenever the Russell Wilson thing gets thrown around to me. I just look at it and I chuckle. Like it's like so gone out of the woodworks, the possibility of happening. Then circle back around to the Deshaun Watson thing. You're gonna give up 3 firsts to go get him. Like I said, anything that you got to give up capital to go get doesn't help this team. Sure. So you're basically saying, if we have to replace that, because no one says go get Mr. Trubisky, nobody tells me to go draft a quarterback. What I'm always told is, well, we can go get Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, which means you think Dak Prescott is in those lanes. He's right there with them, because if you're going to lose Dak, you want one of those guys. Once you just sign your guy, keep your assets, draft and build your team, and move forward. Common sense, guys. Common sense. But with that, man, appreciate y'all for rocking with me. All y'all on Facebook, by all means, man, shoot over to YouTube. Stargating Podcast is the name of the YouTube channel, man. Hit that sub, hit that like. Man, come follow me on Twitter. You put that back on screen, just as it says on the screen. Your _guy_Diggs. Man, come follow me on Twitter, man. We have a pretty good time over that way as well. And also, Don, if you're only in the group, the Stargating, we have a page, the Stargating as well. Man, go like and follow the page as well. We do a couple of different things over there, too. Before I get up out of here, Chris Westry. Yeah, well, I mean, hey man, there's one in every crowd, every fan base. Again, if like Cameron again, if I'm Dak, why do I want to go there? Their salaries F. I'm not going to get a long term deal there. Why would I want to go there? So now you're stuck with Dak, and you got Russell Wilson. Oh, and then you're going to give up, like I said, what 2 firsts, 2 seconds for Russell minimum? Like it's Madden. It's like it's not going to happen. Like there's no way at all. So yeah, man. On that note, I'm gonna holler back at y'all later. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, Starting Podcast. Me, Spoonie, Mariella.